Hello! It's been a while. This has been a really difficult year for pretty much everybody. Between the pandemic, the continued police brutality and racial injustice, now the election, and everything else. A lot of my brain power this year has gone towards staying informed, staying as involved as I can, doing whatever I can to help, and trying to stay energized throughout all of that. Whether I was dealing with something that was affecting all of us on a global level, or just within my family, or even within my own body, I ended up losing someone incredibly close to me. I dealt with health issues of my own, non-COVID related, but that led to me needing a major surgery. For quite a few months, I didn't have it in me to create anything or to do anything that made me happy. I felt like I needed to just kind of stay in it. And even when I started feeling like I could create things again, I felt like I couldn't share them with anyone because I didn't want them to be blocking up the feed or making it harder for people to find information that was more important for them to read. But about halfway through 2020, something in me shifted and I wanted to start creating again and sharing those things again. At some point, I realized that I wanted to write and record a new album, so I did that, which is kind of huge for me. It's been about 2 years since I released new music. Working on the album became a way for me to focus on something positive that I did have control over for once, and it actually gave me energy that I could bring to everything going on in the world and in my life. Working on the album didn't make the bad things stop, and it didn't keep me from being aware of and involved in the more important stuff going on, but it did give me a reason to keep at it, and it gave me something to look forward to in a time when the idea of picturing a future can be really difficult. Having a project to work on made me feel like me again. And it also gave me something positive that I could share with people if they needed a little bit of a break from everything else, something good that they could look forward to. And it also actually made my surgery recovery go a little faster because at that point I had finished my part of the album and was just waiting for my friend Jay to send me mixes that I could then listen to, and that was something I could do from my bed, so that was kind of nice as well. So today, since I haven't made an official video in quite a few months, I wanted to talk about my new album with you. I hope that this small distraction gives you just a little bit of fuel to go and deal with everything else. The album is called Peaches and Plums, and Evelyn Rogers did this incredible illustration for the album artwork. This is the cover, and then they also did this like full front to back sort of art that eventually, if I have a physical CD made, will wrap around the CD. I absolutely love their work, so I was really excited that they said yes to this. I did the lettering and they did everything else, and I love the way that it turned out so much. If you search for Peaches and Plums by Lauren Fairweather, you'll be able to find it on streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, but it's also available on paid platforms like iTunes and Bandcamp. If you end up paying for the album, I greatly appreciate it because it costs a lot of money to make, and I used money out of my own pocket to do that, so yeah. But feel free to stream it if you don't have the means. I really just want people to hear this album, so I made it available on both. My preferred location for people to buy the album is laurenfairweather.bandcamp.com because they pay me the fastest. And if you happen to catch this video on the day that I'm posting it, today is actually a Bandcamp Friday, which means that Bandcamp is not going to charge artists for their usual fees. They usually take a cut of all of the sales that I make on there, and they're not going to be doing it at all for today. All of the money that you spend on Bandcamp today is going to go directly to the artists, aside from a little cut for the payment processors. And so if you do want to buy it, today would be a really good day to do that. The album costs less than $7, but on Bandcamp you also have the option to pay extra. So if you want to round up to 10 or tip me even more than that, it would be very much appreciated. You can also stream the album for a few times on Bandcamp before they ask you to buy it, so if you want to just go and listen to it and see if you like it, that's a really good place to do that. The songs are also available to use as background music in your TikTok videos, so if you make content on TikTok, feel free to use it there. I actually do have a TikTok account, and I've made a few videos on it. I'm not paying a ton of attention to creating content for that platform. I mostly just like to actually watch content on TikTok, but if you want to follow me over there, my username is @LaurenFairWX. And if you make any videos using my music on TikTok, definitely tag me because I want to see them. You may notice right away that this album is not inspired by Harry Potter, as a lot of my previous music has been. That is because on top of everything else we're dealing with this year, I cannot bring myself to lift up the work of someone who uses her enormous platform to tear down and harm the trans community. Just not gonna do that. In general, I will continue to support and be a part of the Harry Potter fandom, which has been productive and very creative for a really long time without any of her help or support. But for this album, I really wanted to focus on another series that I love. So my new album contains 7 songs that are inspired by The Magicians, which is a book series written by Lev Grossman, as well as a TV show. If you already like The Magicians, you'll probably enjoy the album, but if you haven't seen or read that series, my hope is that you'll still find the songs relatable. I love these characters so much, and I put a whole lot of heart into all of these songs, so it would mean a lot to me if you gave it a try and listened anyway. If it's not your jam, that's totally fine, but maybe just give it a chance, because I think it might surprise you. I've heard back from a bunch of folks who listened who are not familiar with the series, and they seemed to really like it and thought that it stood alone even though they didn't get the references to the show. Speaking of the response to this album, I had something really, really exciting happen to me that never ever happened with any of my Harry Potter music, which is that the author who wrote the series actually listened to the whole album and posted about it and really liked it. Lev Grossman tweeted, "This album is so gorgeous, brings me back to the characters in such a new and emotional way. I love it." And then if that weren't already enough to just completely blow my mind and exceed my expectations, he posted a thread of Magicians fan works that have been posted recently that he really enjoyed. Mine was one of them. And then he said, "They're just so brilliant. I love them. And not because they're magicians, but because they are genius." I don't even know. When I started writing wizard rock music, I don't think I ever expected J.K. Rowling or any of the actors from the Harry Potter films to pay attention to what I was doing at all. I was fully just creating it for fans and because it was what I wanted to make. I've been creating fan works, music specifically, for like 15 years now, and it feels really good. I don't know. Also, while we're talking about how supportive Lev Grossman is of fan works, I also released another Magicians-inspired creative project this year, which is a collection of hand-lettered designs that I made for Jordan Dene, who is my favorite nerdy fashion brand. It's called the Ta-Da Collection, and it features 5 quotes from the show. I chose the quotes that I picked specifically because I thought they were relatable regardless of whether you'd seen The Magicians or not, and they're printed on a really wide variety of shirt styles as well as hats and tote bags. They're printed on more kinds of things than I've ever had my designs printed on before, which is kind of exciting for me. Being able to work with Jordan instead of releasing these shirts myself gave me the option to do kind of like V-necks and crop tops and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. There's something for everybody over there, so definitely go check it out on jordandene.com. If you would like a discount, feel free to use my coupon code LaurenFairWX at checkout. That will get you 15% off of any $20 order, and it also gives me a little bit of a commission. I was paid upfront to do the designs, and then I get commission if I refer people. So that's kind of how that all works, just to be transparent with you. But Lev Grossman also bought something from that collection and then posted a photo of it on Twitter. I don't know. I'm over the moon. This is a completely different experience from what I've had with the Harry Potter world, where I kind of just hope the official channels never ever notice what I'm doing and leave me alone. Anyway, I got a few comments that were really positive from actors that are on The Magicians when I posted the performance of my song Escape earlier this year. I haven't heard from any of them since I released the professional recordings, which I'm more proud of. But that's fine. They probably get a lot of messages, and there's a lot going on right now. But I also do not want to bother them about it, so that's that. You can just tell that their performances on the show were really heartfelt, and they spoke to me emotionally so much that I was inspired to write songs about them. So if they ended up listening to it and liked it, that would make me really happy. But it's not a thing that I'm expecting. I did actually get to talk to Hale Appleman, who plays Elliot on the show, earlier this year in a video meet and greet that a virtual convention did, which was amazing. He was so sweet, just like made my entire quarantine for sure. And this is what happened when I told him that I had written a song about Elliot and was possibly going to be writing more. So I've actually written a couple of magicians inspired songs recently. I have an Elliot song. I would love for you to hear it at some point.
Yes, I'll go look for it.
It's so clear that you put so much heart into what you do, and so it's affected me a lot. And so I'm like, all right, I'm writing a song, because that's the only way I can get it out.
Love that. We'll keep writing. Thank you.
I don't actually know if he ended up hearing the songs, but that made me super happy. So now I think I'm probably going to go through track by track and talk about each of the songs, play some clips, just kind of talk to you about my process of making the album and let you hear a little bit of how it turned out. I am going to keep my commentary spoiler-free, but the songs themselves obviously reference things that happen on the show and in the books. If you have any questions about the songs or about the album in general, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm going to go through after I post this and answer a bunch of them, in case there's something that I didn't mention here that you wanted to know about. So the first song on the album is called Escape, and it's a song about the fantasy genre and how it allows us to kind of step out of our lives for a little while and get a necessary break from it. It's from Quentin's perspective, but it's also kind of from my perspective. I relate to Quentin a lot, especially in this particular way, and so it felt right to start the album with something that's so personal and also something that is so important to the series, The Magicians. The whole series is pretty much about this guy who is a big fan of something and who can't quite let it go. This is the second song that I wrote for the album. I wrote it back in March of this year, and that was still before I had decided to do a full album about the Magicians, but I ended up really, really liking this one. It's very close to my heart. I played all of the acoustic guitar that you hear on the album. I wrote all of the songs. I did almost all of the vocals, but this particular song has some cool backing vocals in it that a bunch of my friends submitted. You can hear Matt Giacomo in there. My friend Audrey Wagner also sent me some vocals that were really beautiful that I ended up using. And then my friend, whose stage name is Bay Season, it's actually a coworker of mine, ended up sending me some background vocals as well. So those are the voices that you hear that aren't mine that are on this particular song. Mike Stein, who did the piano on my album With You Whatever Happens, also came back and recorded keys for this album, and he did such a good job. I recorded everything by myself here in my house, and then my friend Jay Ferguson actually mixed and mastered everything for me. I just need a good fantasy to help me cope with this agony. Take me out of this moment and let the magic carry me. The second song on the album is called Not Gonna Say. It is definitely one of my favorite songs on the album, but this is a song about having a crush on somebody and making the decision to not tell them at all. This is also another one that's very relatable to me. I do not have any game when it comes to that sort of thing. More likely to just not say anything. This song is from Elliot's perspective. Elliot is my favorite character on the show and in the book series. He's wonderful. And so I knew that I wanted to get kind of a happier Elliot song on this album somewhere, because the first song that I wrote, which I'll get to later, is a very sad Elliot song, so wanted to get some balance in there as far as that goes. But I could swear there's something there, except you're probably straight. I might be falling for you, but I'm not gonna say. The third track is called You Can't Hurt Me. This one is from Julia's perspective. It's probably the heaviest song on the album, but it's a song about finding your power even when a lot of things are getting in your way. Julia has a really, really intense, really sad plot arc in both the books and on the show. And so this song ended up being about her journey. It's more her journey in the books, but the show was very similar, at least in the way that I told it. So if you have only seen the show, there might be a couple things that seem a little off. That's because they were different in the books. The books in general are very different from the show, but I like them both for different reasons. Won't go back to who I was. I'm heading out. Can't wear me down. You will regret you gave me up. The fourth song on the album is called Niffin. This is by far my favorite to perform. I have such a good time with this one. So this song is probably the one that's going to make the least sense if you haven't read the books or seen the show, but I think you can still enjoy it. A Niffin is kind of a creature with godlike power who is made up of kind of magical energy and can do pretty much whatever they want. This is a story about a Niffin who has their power taken away from them and is not happy about it. The actor on the show did a fantastic job with this particular plot line, and I just couldn't not write a song about it.
Why'd you bring me back? Won't you change me back? Did you think I'd be grateful, honey? 'Cause you took away the power I had. You could never even fathom all the power I had. Oh, wish I could go back to being a Niffin.
Track number 5 is called Proof of Concept. This one is incredibly close to my heart. It is about my favorite 2 episodes in the entire series, and it just, man, this entire plot line just grabbed hold of me and has not let go. I can't stop thinking about it. It changed my life, so I needed to write at least several songs about it, but this is a song about the kind of love that spans multiple timelines, and what happens when you remember one of those previous timelines. It's about asking for what you want and being honest with someone. This is a big one for me. It took me a long time to write it, but it's also from Quentin's perspective.
The years we had were beautiful, and I want 50 more. We became a family. Well, I think we always were. Who gets that proof of concept? Just say yes and I'll be yours. Oh.
And then the next song is called Braver, and it is about the same situation, but from Elliot's perspective. Yeah, this is actually the first song that I wrote, and I wrote it when I was completely heartbroken over the way the show handled this whole plot line. I still have a lot of emotions around what happened with this, and I wrote this song in particular, but also the rest of the album, to kind of cope with those emotions and to deal with them and to put them into kind of a neat little package. And so I hope that listening to them helps you if you still have feelings from what happened here. If you haven't seen the show, don't worry about it. Just kind of enjoy it for what it is. But this is another song about being brave enough to ask for what you want.
And if I get one more chance to tell you how I feel, next time I'll be braver. You taught me to be braver. If I ever get out of here, you know that when I'm braver, it's 'cause I learned it from you.
And then the last song in the album is a complete tone change from the last one. It's called Hard Glossy Armor. It's from Margot's perspective. Janet, if you are a book fan, it's about being a woman and being told your whole life that you can be anything, and then finding out that the world is just waiting to knock you down if you try. And it's about taking back that power. This song is by far the hardest to sing. And I ended up being really happy with the way it turned out, and it is such a way to end the album. I wanted the album to kind of go chronologically, at least following the order that things happen on the show, and it worked out really well that this happened to be chronologically the last song, but also it was the vibe that I wanted to end on, and I feel like it just, man, really, really proud of the ending on this one and the way that it ties the whole album together, even though it is pretty different from the other songs.
My dad taught me I could be anything when I was a kid, but be loud or pissed off and the world shot back. Who does she think she is? He saw what he raised, a woman he could no longer control, who didn't seek approval, nothing deadlier to the fragile male ego.
So that's the whole album. If you've heard it, I would love to hear which songs are your favorite in the comments below. When I released the album, I did 2 online release parties for it. One of those release parties was here on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna link to it. That is kind of a full playthrough of the whole album. I performed the entire thing live. I answered a few questions in that one. And then I also did one on Instagram Live kind of earlier that day. I performed a few songs, but I mostly just kind of chatted with people in the comments and answered their questions. If you just want to find my Instagram account, it's LaurenFairWX. You can rewatch the Instagram live video on the IGTV tab on my profile. Also, if you are interested in learning how to play any of these songs or covering them, you are welcome to do so, and I actually put the chords and the lyrics on my website, laurenfairweather.com. I'm going to link to that page as well. Also, please link back to the album on my Bandcamp page. That way, if people want to hear the original, they know where to find it. Check the video description when you're done watching this video for a probably pretty long list of links to all the things I mentioned in the video, as well as a couple other things that may be useful to you. I posted a couple of Twitter threads about like which songs spoil which episodes, as well as some important information if you're considering watching the show because of this album. I was also a guest on a special episode of a podcast called Philorians United for Magicians fans. They did a special episode just about my album, and I got to talk to them for like a whole hour. It was really fun, so I'm going to link to that as well. Just to kind of tie up this video, I wanted to mention that it means a lot to me that a bunch of you have stuck around, even though I haven't made a whole lot of videos this year. I am not going anywhere. I definitely intend to continue making content for you, but I've kind of been spreading it around on multiple platforms instead of doing everything here on YouTube. So if you happen to also be on Instagram and on Twitter, those are the two that I post on most often. You can find me on both of those platforms at LaurenFairWX, and I would love to see you over there if you're somebody who has previously only followed me here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the album, and I'll see you soon.